What's happening? It's Tuesday night. We're going to run with another USS Nationals seminar. Tonight, we're going over the concept of compound interest. So as we're just getting started, I'm going to give it, about a minute here. Let anybody wrangle in. See if anybody joins us tonight. If you're watching the replay, as always, feel free to drop some questions in the chat or in the comments. You can always reach out to me on Instagram. Same username as my YouTube here, at Stephen M. Coyne. Hope you guys are all doing well. Hope training is going good. Hope you're feeling strong, happy, and healthy. Hope you're staying cool with the heat. Trapper Kane in the building. Yeah, buddy. All right. So about 30 more seconds here. Let some stragglers come in. But compounding interest is a really good one that I have ready to go for you guys tonight. Let me tell you, right now is the time that you need to be making and taking some action. You don't want to be weeks down the line or getting into the week of competition or, God forbid, showing up at game day wishing you could have done things now. So if you're watching this, kudos to you. Let's go ahead and get it started. So this is all about compounding interest. What we're looking to do is, of course, get better in strongman. We want you to get better, perform at a higher level, be a better athlete, be stronger, fitter, happier, and healthier. So what does this mean, right? This means stacking all sorts of things so we can be 2% better every single day. Now, you probably are familiar with the concept of compounding interest, but this is how we make exponential gains, right? A lot of times, it's very easy to think of things in the linear sense. Like we're going to add 5 pounds to this 1 week, 5 pounds, 5 pounds, 5 pounds. But if we're able to do all these little things in the total spectrum, right? This is why I call my branding and my philosophy swolistic. We want to have the swole, large, strong, holistic perspective on everything, because that's how we truly unlock our potential. People always throw these buzzwords around like become the greatest, strongest version of you. And I don't think they really know what that means, but this is just about attacking every single little thing to be your best self. So if we were to now, 46 days away from nationals, add 2% every single day, this is what this looks like, right? In numbers, adding 2% every single day. By day 7, we're 12% ahead of where we started. By day 14, we're 29% ahead of where we started. By day 21, 48%. By day 28, 70%. By day 35, 96%, almost 100%. We're almost twice as good as we were before. Day 42, 125% ahead of where we were. And 46 days from now is nationals, meaning you could be 140% better than where you are right now if you did nothing whatsoever. So I want you to think about these concepts in the term of you versus your competition. Your competition on this X and Y chart is just going to be, for the most part, most of these people will just be showing up to the gym and going through the motions, and they'll be making some progress. They'll follow their program and they'll make this dashed line, these progressions onwards and upwards. But if you do these things, you get this exponential growth, right? And now here's really the bigger concept is, it's good that we're looking at this right now with an end date and a finish line and target, but these are things you need to be doing all of the time, no matter what. If you want to be your best self, there really is no off season. If you have different purposes and different goals, and you're not training for a specific competition, you should be using these principles to keep leveling up over and over and over and over again, right? It happens so quickly if you really tune in this way. So we've got 5 concepts that I'm going to give you some tips on how to utilize. First is prime, then we're going to recover, sleep, mental, and then NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis, right? So this is just the daily movement and outside things you're doing that's not your actual training program. And now, as always, what I want you to try to do as we're going along is think about how all these things tie together. No concept stands alone in this, right? If you would like to follow along, in the description down below, there is a free guide that's got all the notes and the bullet points and all the info on this presentation if you want to see and follow along for yourself. So why don't we go ahead and just get right into this. Priming. So priming is warming up, mobilizing, and potentiating for your session, your exercises, all of your reps. And this is really important because we want to get the absolute most out of every single repetition. I'm sure we've all been in a situation where, let's say it's our leg day, our squat day, and our first couple of reps are like, oh man, my hips are tight. Just my legs are so stiff. Da, da, da. So what we want to think about doing here is just making sure that we're going through the right processes to have every single repetition be delivered under the right intention. If we have, this current club strongman program, it's a accumulating volume scheme right now where there's 6 sets of log and overhead presses in this program. If you're somebody that usually takes maybe 2 to 3 sets to warm up and find your groove, just imagine the impact it's going to make if you're warmed up and in your groove right away for set 1. So when we mobilize, warm up efficiently, and potentiate our nervous system, we're going to have more efficient and more effective movement. So our goal, of course, in strongman is to list everything with strength and power. So if we have a 6-set day for our log press, if we have all 6 sets fired with power and strength and focus, we're getting that, we're just reinforcing that stimulation, that stimulus over and over and over again. By the time it gets to nationals, I want you to think, if you from here on out, you have 12 sessions of log, and let's keep using this 6-set example. If you need those 2 first sets to really get in the groove every time, that's a third of your time on log wasted. Imagine how much better it would be on the converse if you had all 100% of your reps going to the right intended specific purpose instead of only 2/3, instead of only 66%. That is where we start talking about how these little differences add up big over time. It could only be 4 to 5 reps per workout, but then when we look at the long term, right, let's just say, 4 reps twice a week, 8 reps per week over 6 weeks. That's almost 50 reps that we could be wasting or getting the most out of if we're doing this right. You know what I mean? So it's really important that we warm up, mobilize, potentiate. Potentiation in the context of training is just getting your nervous system like sparked and explosive. So this could be plyometrics. Sometimes for upper body stuff, I like a quick chest pass or a plyo push-up, or for a log press, since it's so hip and leg dominant, some plyo jumps, some sandbag throws, something that gets that fast twitch going so you are ready to fire the way you should under a log press or a push press. Now, not only does this give us more efficient and effective movement, but it reduces the risk of injury. Very important. When we're going into big competitions and we're training hard, we're breaking our body down. That's exactly how a training program works. That's how you get stronger. That's how you get bigger. That's how you become a better athlete, is by creating traumas in your body that you grow and repair from. So when we are efficiently priming our system, we're reducing the risk of injury while greasing the groove. Back to what I was saying about, making sure we are getting every rep exactly right. Sometimes squats are another, let's go back to squats. If your first couple of sets, you're like, oh, I'm so stiff, you're not going to be hitting the optimal depth that you need to hit to activate all the muscles that should be firing that you want to be building up. But if we mobilize, then you are hitting every single thing that you need, and you're greasing that pattern of good, correct technique every single time if you just take a little bit of time to warm up and prime your body. It's just giving you a better return on all of your reps. Again, we want to make sure that we're getting the absolute most out of our training program. So if you're somebody that just skips mobility, or you don't pay attention to, oh man, my shoulder's so tight, and you could have rolled it out a little bit, but you decided not to and go straight into your workout, then you're just going to have a subpar performance on that day. Victory in strongman is often won by seconds or inches, so we have to pay attention to these small details. Now, moving on from priming for our workouts, we're going to go right into recovery, right? Recovery is just what's going to allow us to train harder for longer. Now, again, as we're looking at this whole entire scope of a training program, we're going into nationals. There's a lot of different things that we're training for at once. Fatigue is going to happen, but we want to minimize that fatigue as much as possible. It's always a balance act of how much work can we do to push ourselves really, really hard so that we're making enough damage to our body, but not so much that we can't grow and repair from it. Now, the truth is that all the people at the very highest levels, they train super hard and they recover even harder. So this is where, again, cool downs. A lot of times people want to just leave the gym and get out as soon as they are done. But by doing things such as taking a few seconds to intentionally breathe or lay flat on the ground and just relax, to shift into that parasympathetic state to get your recovery started quicker, it makes a huge difference. 5 minutes of stretching out or just throwing your legs up on a wall to get some blood flow out of your legs into your lower body to expedite the recovery process. It's not asking that much, right? Another good tool is just jump on a recovery bike for a few minutes to get some full body blood flow head to toe. So you're not walking around all stiff legged from that inflammation after all of your sets. Now, when we recover to our highest ability, we're going to be able to show up to each and every session more fresh, which means we won't have to prime and potentiate as much. We still should use this thing, but we'll just have another layer of something that's allowing us to train harder every time. We have all gotten into a workout where we are so dang sore from any day, whatever, it doesn't matter. Like you show up like, oh man, my legs are so sore. I don't know if I'm going to be able to really get a lot of leg drive on my logs today. Well, if we take time to stretch, roll out, take care of those quads after a serious leg day, then we're going to show up ready to fire those legs hard again for log or moving event or anything that you have going on. Now, in any good program, you should have periods of a deload week. A deload week is where we reduce the intensity of a workout so that you can get the super compensation effect, right? As fatigue builds up with your performance, at some point, you're not going to be able to continue training, and you have to have a period of lighter work and intensity to fully recover. If you are too fatigued, that could be 10 days or 2 weeks, right? You're spending a lot of time just getting your body to get repaired from all the work that it's doing. But if you're doing a lot of recovery work every single day, or hell, even 3 times a week, then that deload week becomes much more efficient. You're not going to have to waste as much energy getting your nervous system and your body recovered. And all of that lighter work that you're doing is going to now be able to be shuttled into technique refinement or visualization exercises, right? So this is all about making your whole systems a lot more efficient. You have to recover. Now, one underrated benefit of recovery is you just feel good when you do it. Whether you're using the sauna, a cold plunge, or you're stretching, if you ever go to a yoga class, something like that, I want you to think about how you feel when you get out of that. You feel relaxed, you feel good, you're loose and limber. We want to exist in a state where we feel good, right? You know all this stuff about stress. It raises cortisol. It makes your muscles physically tense. But on the flip side, if we just are feeling good in our body, in our day-to-day life, things come in many different forms of blessings, one of them being positive workouts and performance. So if we are constantly feeling good in our training, in our day-to-day life, that is the type of attitude and mindset that we're going to go into competition with. But if we don't recover and we're just stiff all the time, then we're probably, or we have a higher chance of going into competition literally stiff and tense and mentally shut off. You always have to think of your body and brain as a two-way street. Sometimes you can get physically stiff because of an emotion, or sometimes you can have an emotion that makes you, or say it the other way, two-way street. So your physicality, your actual muscle tension can put you into some type of an emotion in the same way that some type of emotion can put you into physical stiffness. So we want to feel good so we can perform at our best, not only in training, but at competition. Make this part of your personality, right? Moving on into sleep. Obviously a key part of recovery. Sleep is where we get our muscle repair and growth from all of this damage that we're talking about, that we're creating in training. Damage is not a good thing because we're going to repair and regrow bigger and stronger. But it's not just about your muscles and your body. It's also about your mental state, right? We've all had a tough night of sleep one time where we're just so dang cranky the next day. We don't want that. We want to be able to show up to our training sessions with the right positive mindset. You know, even though we all love to lift weights and work out, we all have at some point in time felt like, man, getting to that workout is a burden because I feel like crap today. Or, man, I slept like shit. I'm so tired, blah, 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 blah. And I want you to understand that we don't have to be perfect on these things, but we have to prioritize making it as good as possible all the time. If we miss the night, we don't sleep well one night, that's fine. We'll get to the next one. If we have 46 days from here until nationals, if 42 of those nights were really, really good sleep, 90% of them were great, you're still going to be in a very good place. All right. Now, with our sleep, this is where we also get nervous system recovery. You know, your nervous system is what gives you the ability to fire explosively when you need to lift. Okay. This is the same concept as why some very small power lifters can lift a whole lot of weight, is because they've got this supercharged nervous system. But our recovery for that whole system happens when we sleep, right? So it's very important that we're sleeping well, because also it optimizes our hormones. As I'm going through this, I still would like you to remember how all of these things that we're talking about overlap kind of as a unified theory. Hormones. We need things like testosterone to be flowing and producing in our system so that we can repair and regrow. We want things like cortisol and estrogen in check so that we are not stressed out and wasting emotional energy in things that we don't need to waste them in. When we sleep, we can also have sharper mental focus. Chances are that you have to think about your technique when you're lifting. You should. On some things, you might be able to just kind of zone out and think about other little concepts. Like for me, I've done the yoke so much that once I'm set, I can just think about, going hard, fast, and powerful. But whether you're focusing on your technique or just some certain cues, if you're not sleeping well, you're not going to be able to think clearly about any of these things. So think, again, of the positive. Think about the best case scenario where whatever you need to think about to succeed while you are lifting, you will be able to do so at the highest level with good quality sleep. Now, once again, this all comes down to, with less fatigue, you're just going to lift better. So think again about how we're stacking these things up and up and up so that they all combine to make you a better prepared lifter and athlete on game day. Now, of course, with our sleep, we were talking about the mental aspects of this. If we're not sleeping well, we're not going to be able to apply this fourth part, and that is your mental training. With your mental training, here's some things that you can do to maximize your performance. First is just practice visualization. I talk about this all the time because it works. We can only do so much in the gym. We've all hit that wall where we've been lifting and lifting and lifting, and then our body just has no more go anymore. When we actually have an intensely visualized experience, our nervous system cannot distinguish the difference between a real lived experience in real time or that vividly imagined experience. They are the same thing. So when you want to be good technically, when you want to perform and have good pacing and be focused in those high pressure situations, by visualizing and literally just practicing your reps in your head, by the time you show up in nationals, you're going to have done it over and over and over and over again. Now, my personal method that I like to use is if I have a 5-event show, I usually do one at a time. So at night, Monday I'll do this first exercise at the competition. Tuesday I'll do the second exercise. Wednesday I'll do the third. Thursday, Friday, so on. So if I'm in your shoes right now, I'm actually about 8 weeks out from America's Strongest Man. I'm going to have, 8 to 10 practice rounds, very intensely, very focused, very sharpened, rehearsed over and over in my head again. So by the time I show up to do it, I'm just doing it for the 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th time. It'll feel like I've already been there. So I'm going to be able to show up, apply my technique, and execute. Now, of course, you're going to have a harder time if you're not sleeping, if you're not recovering, and if you're not training well. But also what we're doing with this mental training, whether it's visualization, meditation, or breath work, is we're also flexing and training our concentration muscle. At nationals, there's really a lot going on. There's going to be over 600 people. There's going to be many lanes. There's going to be a lot of noises. There's going to be a big crowd. There's going to be all sorts of stuff going on. The people that succeed are the ones that are going to be able to apply their concentration to themselves and the weight. You cannot let yourself get distracted by what's going on around you. By instituting mental training, you're just sharpening the concentration muscle. And that carries back over into all of these things we're doing. When you sharpen the concentration muscle, you'll be able to get better reps in your training. You'll be able to shift your energy and your state into recovery periods. You'll be able to calm your mind down when it's time to sleep. If you institute breath work, you'll add to your recovery by lowering your resting heart rate and increasing your HRV, your heart rate variability. These are two of the hallmarks that determine whether your body is actually recovering or not. So you can do this just with the power of mental training. So if you were to do this, you could have massive recovery payoffs right now, within the next couple of days. What mental training really does, though, it just gives you this ability to switch on and off. When we get to competitions, a lot of people struggle because they stay at this alert phase all day long. Really, what you need to do is find your zones where you can warm up, get excited to the level that you need to be for that event, and then once it's done, shut it right back off until it's time to wind up again. If you have a 6-hour-long competition, sometimes they go longer, sometimes you have a 10-hour day. The last thing you want to do is waste your energy being super hyped up all day long. Now, there's other things at play here on game day, such as your stimulant usage, which really plays a part in this. But if you are practicing some brain training, you're just going to be able to switch gears on and off when you need to and have a big energetic advantage over your competition that cannot calm down. Now, lastly, we're going to cover NEAT. So this is just NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis, right? This is all the stuff you're doing in your day-to-day lifestyle and activity that's going to improve your circulation and your aerobic base. Think about anytime you've taken a long car trip. You're on this road trip, you get out finally after sitting still for 3 hours because you got to stretch, you got to loosen around, go for a walk. Why do you need to do that? It's because you are getting physically stiff. Now, we want to avoid that at all costs, especially when we're doing heavy training, because we're already putting our body into a state where it's going to want to lock up to start recovering. Our muscles just went through a lot of work, so your joints are going to want to stiffen up, your muscles will want to stiffen up, but we don't want that to happen because we need to be delivering blood to them for recovery. We need to be delivering nutrients to them from food so that we're growing back bigger and stronger, and we need to have good digestion that supports both of those processes. So if we're doing things like getting 10,000 steps a day, we're getting that constant blood flow and nutrient delivery to your muscles that's expediting your recovery all day long. Now, the really cool thing about getting those steps in, or this also combines with your recovery processes, right? Like you could do a yoga class or you could do a stretch session that also counts as this NEAT. It enhances your sleep, it enhances your digestion, and it enhances your mood. This is really important that we are doing all of these things to make ourselves feel good. Now, one of the things I want you to understand is it's hard to get into doing all of this stuff. It does take work, but I promise you, if you get going and you start doing this for 2 weeks, you're going to start thinking, dang, I feel so good. And you're going to want to keep going. This is where the motivation will come automatically, because if you slip or you veer off course, you're going to feel like shit and you're going to notice the difference immediately, and you'll understand why this stuff is so important. So when we feel good, we just get to add more to our lives, to our training. We get to focus and bring the right emotional state to our workouts over and over and over again, which will allow us to lift better with the right intention. It'll allow us to have sharper focus, to excel on our technique, grease the groove of doing reps the right way in training so that we can do them in the right way at competition. And it just creates this personality of somebody who feels good and has all of those blessings coming into their lives. This is all this stuff about your vibrational state. This is how we activate this to become a bigger, stronger, more powerful, and positively successful athlete, is by using our daily steps, is by priming our body to get it ready for movement in the right way, by recovering so we're not just so freaking tired all the time, so we sleep so that we wake up refreshed and ready to attack our goals again. Now, I really do want you to get in these steps. A lot of people have physical activity jobs where they are walking around all day long. You're getting a lot of this in, but think about how you can enhance this now a little bit more. Are you getting sunshine on your skin? Are you just walking around staring at your phone or listening to garbage in your headphones? Maybe, right? What if you were to supercharge this with, podcasts that are motivating and inspiring, or get you to think about the right things, or just get you excited to train? Think about all the time that could add up if for 15 minutes a day you had inspiring self-help, motivational podcasts in your head that were telling you messages that you can do this, you're capable, you can do anything you set your mind to. 15 minutes a day, 7 days a week, you see 30, 60, 75, 90. We're talking about hours and hours and hours of this stuff that's going into your head that's just going to positively brainwash you to think that you are capable of doing anything you set your mind to. So it's really important that you have intention to this and not just do it aimlessly. Although, honestly, if you just aimlessly go for a walk, it's still going to be of benefit to you. But you can supercharge it. Now, what's the importance of all this? The importance of all of this is that this is going to give you a gigantic advantage over your competitors. This is what this is all about. When you show up to competition, think about how much of a confidence boost it's going to give you to know my competition didn't do this. They didn't do this. They didn't do this. They didn't do this. They didn't do this. But I did. Think about when you show up to competition and you see your competition, even if it's somebody that's really strong and they're just grumpy and pissed off, or they're hurt and they're injured. Anytime you go to a big competition, as I've gone to OSG now the last 2 years, everybody's walking in there saying, oh man, training was hard the last couple of weeks, or my body's feeling like pretty broken down. Not me. That stinks for you, man. You know why? Because I'm doing all of these things that are going to allow me to feel good and get the most out of training. That I'm showing up in a very positive place, charged with self-belief, charged with hard proof and evidence that I have done everything that I possibly can to succeed. That gives me a lot of confidence and not cockiness in my performance. When any of us have confidence in our abilities that's been built through all of these actions, you will feel unstoppable. Now, if you happen to make a mistake during an event, if you're still going in knowing that you did all of these things and you have this confidence, you're going to have the mental stability to have composure and not let a mistake or one bad event ruin your entire day. You're going to still believe in yourself, have this ability to switch on and off or just shift your concentration in the right place to focus on overcoming the mistake or overcoming the error, and then make the absolute most out of the situation. So what we're doing with all of this is just conserving our energy, right? We're not wasting anything on resources, thoughts, or just shit that's not really going to help us out. So we're showing up to be our best self by applying all of these things. So ideally, we become this strong, healthy, and happy person that's going to be excited. Is not going to let nerves overcome them. It's not going to let any of these jitters or these thoughts of, well, what if I just did this, pop into their head. Let me tell you right now, it didn't affect me, but last year I was thinking, man, what if I just did my conditioning all year this year? I didn't let it get to me, but it still crept in my head. I'm not going to let myself think that this year because I'm showing up and doing it even when I don't want to. So I want you to think about all these things that are going in that help make you your most complete best athlete in a couple weeks from now. Do you want to be there in Charlotte on game day thinking, man, I wish I would have done this? No, you don't want to be that person. And I really think you should frame a lot of things and a lot of decisions about how you approach your day, how you approach your training programs with that same question. Will I regret it if I don't do this? Take some time to really think about that. So that's a wrap. If you guys have any questions, I'm going to keep it going for just another minute here, but compounding interest. I hope that you can see and understand just how powerful all of this stuff can combine and just how much it can actually do for you. It's not woo-woo. This is not, just fluff. But I don't think anybody can make a convincing argument that this doesn't work or this doesn't work or this or this or this. So think about what all of them combined will do. It turns you into a powerful, unstoppable force. Now, once again, in the description down below, There's a follow-along guide. If you would like to read, make, and take your own notes, please help yourself. But we'll be back next Tuesday night, 7 p.m., same time, with more topics that are going to help you crush it at US Strongman Nationals. And I also want you to think right now, your competition is not taking the time to study and understand all of these elements. But knowledge is not enough. Knowledge must be applied. Otherwise, it's useless. So it's good that you were here, but I hope that you now take some steps to apply this and start getting those gains that you deserve. That's a wrap. Have a championship night.